Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Occult Perspectives. Your host, Tyler Smith, here. If you're new to my channel, what I do on here is I talk about different esoteric and occult subjects, such as Freemasonry, Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, the Tree of Death, and much, much more. While I am a beginner practitioner, I am by no means an expert when it comes to ceremonial magic or occult practices, but I have studied a lot over the years. And there are some great teachers out there if you're looking for actual mentors and those who can guide you on an actual initiatory path in the occult field. For that, I recommend Universal Mastery, especially when it comes to the left-hand path, the negative polarity. Also check out Cosmic Observer, and I believe Travis Magus is the other one. Let me make sure that's right. Yes, Travis Magus. So those YouTube channels, as well as Curtis Joseph, and there's a few other really good channels out there that you probably want to go check out to learn more about actually traversing through the Tree of Life or the Tree of Klapoth, if that's something that you're interested in. My information, I specialize more in the archangels of the Tree of Life. That's where I have a lot more knowledge base, kind of the front side of the Tree of Life. I know a lot about that realm, and I've become a lot more curious about the Klapoth and the Tree of Death. I kind of started researching it more heavily back in February of this year. I had heard about it before that. I had read a little bit about it. Thomas Carlson's Kabbalah, Klapoth, and Goetic Magic. That's the first book I really read that really kind of opened my mind up to the left-hand path, and I was really impressed by what I read in that book. You know, I thought, wow, here is some very intense, deep occult knowledge, but yet still written in a way that's understandable. So that was a really influential book for me. And I think that this video comes at a really good time. This is good timing, especially with some of the posts that I've been seeing from Jeremiah over at Universal Mastery. This is going to be an interesting video. This is going to be about the influence of Lucifer within the Bavarian Illuminati. So, how this topic started for me when I first came across it, as I was looking online, and I had read this book before. This actually has all of the authentic documents from the Bavarian Illuminati. It's called the Secret School of Wisdom. I've talked about it on this channel before. Also, if you are not familiar with what the Bavarian Illuminati is and what the Illuminati could today be considered, there are many different versions of what the Illuminati is. It means different things to different people. And it's also a title. It means illuminated one. So each of us can strive to be an Illuminati, you know, in our own personal sphere of influence. As within, so without, as above, so below. So as we come more into alignment with Source, we come more into alignment with our true selves. We can better learn the things that we need to. And effectively affect and change the reality around us. We all have the power to, if we know how to channel our energy correctly, we can produce, you know, change on a massive scale. And the more in alignment you are with your true self, the more you understand where your place is in the midst of Source, like where your station is in life, your true purpose, your true self, excuse me. That will help better empower you in your skills of manifestation. But anyway, to get into the topic of this video, I came across, after reading this book, I saw online that there was a Bavarian Illuminati Scottish Knight Prefect Order Star, is what it's called. And when I looked at this star, I'm going to show you here real quick. As you can see, now correct me if I'm mistaken. Oh, that is really hard to see the middle, isn't it? I don't know if you can even see the sigil in the middle because of the... Let's see, let's try changing the brightness of the screen. There you go. Now you can see it. Now, to me, that looks like the sigil of Lucifer. I don't know what else that would be. So that kind of caught my surprise. You know, I didn't expect to see a sigil of Lucifer in the Bavarian Illuminati book. So that intrigued me. And I've done more research as to what degree this is in the Bavarian Illuminati system. And I thought it would be worth it to share some of my thoughts in connection with Freemasonry, because we know there's a lot of connection between the Illuminati and Freemasonry. So let me go ahead and read you the description. And you can look this up online if you just type in Scottish Knight Prefect Star. It should pop up first thing. The Master's Craft, which is the name of this website, the Master's Craft, brings you this beautiful recreation of the Bavarian Illuminati Scottish Knight Prefect's Order Star. And, you know, in Freemasonry and any other fraternal organization, for the most part, occult orders, there are going to be different jewels that officers wear, usually as a necklace. So this was either something that they wore as a necklace, or we'll get into details on it later. It might have been like something they wore on their breast. But let me continue reading. With the recent publication of The Secret School of Wisdom, which is the book I was just talking about, the first full translation of the actual Bavarian Illuminati rituals, this jewel is based strictly off of the details given by the order itself. The third of 3 jewels in the series, it is a piece of history forever connected to secret societies, ancient mystery schools, and even Freemasonry itself. So let's go ahead and jump into the book. Now, the degree that this jewel of the officer, who is the prefect, belongs to, the prefect, Order Star, is the Illuminatus Dirigens. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's Illuminatus, Dirigens. So if you want to pause that and look at that right there. Directing Illuminatus or Scottish Knight. So I want to clarify real quick, and I've talked about this in other videos, but when it comes to any order, there's always an inner order and an outer order. And it's these inner adepts that have such a level of self-mastery that they are the ones who hold most of the energy, or the energy uplines to them eventually. And they set up these systems in order to help humanity evolve. there's always a different system that's created for where people are in society at the time. So Freemasonry, for instance, has started, modern Freemasonry started in 1717 with the Grand Lodge of England. And this collective consciousness, there are other names for it. Egregores. There's a couple other terms. I always forget the one that I'm trying to think of. But there's a couple different names. They basically mean the same thing. It is a collective consciousness of sometimes an entire, it can be, sometimes come from an entire planet or a different star system even, and it comes here to Earth to bring about this change. And we've talked about Jehovah even, Jehovah or Yahweh being one of these collective consciousnesses, if I'm pronouncing that or saying that right. There is another word for it, and I really wish that I could think of what it is right now. But you get the gist. There's this egregore that's formed, and it affects humanity on such a large degree. And these change over time. The needs of humanity change. So what we're seeing right now, and I've known this is coming for quite a while. I knew it when I was younger too. There's this mass shift going on right now. Kind of like a trade of powers, so to speak. So we're seeing like new egregores and new universal matrices, if you will, grids, all of these things, different within the matrix in this world. There are different matrix systems all simultaneously existing on Earth at once. So it's like there's different realities going on at once, affecting the society. So the way that it's been going for like the last 300 years or so in this egregore, it's changing, it's evolving, it's shifting. And I've always known that. I've kind of had this intuition, even in my name, my name being Tyler. I'm kind of one of the last of the patriarchs of the age of Pisces, but I'm also here to help usher in the new aeon as well. So it's like I'm seeing that age of Pisces out the door, and I'm also helping the new souls, not so much the new souls, that's not a good way of putting it, but I'm helping this new current manifest as well. So it's like I'm kind of this person that stands between both worlds within the gate, trying to stand within the two pillars, and we have to let go of much from the previous eras, aeons. There's much that doesn't serve us anymore, and there are some things which are very much worth holding on to, certain qualities and such, and then there are many things we're going to have to let go of and take on new information, new processes of evolution. And you see that happening a lot right now, all these major shifts. So a lot of what I'm covering today, especially with the Bavarian Illuminati, it kind of almost belongs to this older chivalric age. And I think the best aspects of this, the ones that are most worth keeping, are going to be held on to. And then as we transition into the new age, we're going to integrate and combine the old with the new. And then a new system is going to be formed or created. Give me just a minute. I'm going to see if I can find something. finding exactly what I was looking for, but that's all right. But I have a lot to cover in this channel, or in this video. I know I have it saved on my phone somewhere, but if I try to get into that, it is going to end the video. Okay. But anyway, we were talking about how higher adepts, the ones that are in the inner orders of societies, it's basically, if you look at it this way, like humanity as a whole, it's really like a bunch of children that are kind of lost and they need guided. And so these systems, these institutions are all set up so that, as we talked about in the last video, or 2 videos ago actually, with the influence of the planet Saturn and how Saturn influences all of our lives, it is the way that these systems are set up to help people basically properly evolve and fulfill the need for there to be the hero or the ego, be the counteractant to those who want to play the hero. They're the ones who are bringing active change and active evolution to humanity, and a lot of the times this comes through in them having to play an adversarial role to help push evolution and consciousness along. Otherwise, humanity would stay stagnant. Sorry, it took a second for me to realize what I was wanting to say, or how I was wanting to say it. So this degree it's actually in the Bavarian Illuminati, they called it Scottish Freemasonry, which is, sounds very similar to the Scottish Rite, but it's not quite the same, but it is based off of the same ideas, and there are a lot of similarities. As we know, in the Scottish Rite, there are 32 degrees, and then a 33rd honorary degree, if you include the original, first 3 Blue Lodge degrees of Freemasonry. So within Scottish Freemasonry, you have the Scottish Novice, and then you have this degree, which the jewel of the prefect belongs to, which has the sigil of Lucifer on it. And this degree is called the Illuminatus Dirigens, as we discussed at the beginning of this video. If I go to the table of contents, I can kind of see the whole structure of the order. It starts out with the Minerval. You have novitiates. This is called the Minerval class. And in orders like the OTO, there's also a Minerval degree. You have the novitiate, and then the Minerval degree, and then the Minervalus Illuminatius, or Illuminatus Minor, and then the initiation of a magistrate of the Minerval Church. So those 4 belong to the Minerval class, which is the first class. Then you have the Freemasonic class, which is symbolic Freemasonry. You have the Entered Apprentice, Fellowcraft Master Mason degree, of course. And then you have Scottish Freemasonry, which has these 2 degrees, and then there's a Mysteries class, which is the 3rd class. Well, technically it would be, because Scottish Freemasonry, the 2 degrees I just mentioned, the Scottish Novice and the Illuminatus Dirigens, are labeled under the Freemasonic class. So that is the 2nd class. And then the 3rd class is the Mysteries class, which includes the Lesser Priest degree, presbyter, if I'm saying that right, presbyter, and then the lesser regent degree, princeps, princeps, and then you have the higher mysteries, the docetists, and then the philosophi, sages. And there were very few people that existed like within those higher degrees. I don't think there were like that many, and there's a lot of uncompleted things within the Bavarian Illuminati. Like, even though all of these documents exist in this book, the order was never fully established and really as large as people think it was. It was kind of like missing some pieces, and it wasn't really structured as well as they would have liked it to have been structured. I'll put it that way. So it's interesting also that the Tetragrammaton, or as we know in ceremonial magic, especially with like the lesser ritual of the pentagram, the Tetragrammaton, it's interesting that that is on the seal of the degree. This is a sketch of the seal of the secret chapter, which is uniform in every respect except for the insignia of the shield. So there you have there's the Tetragrammaton right there. And then you have the sigil of Lucifer on the prefect star, and I believe the prefect is kind of basically like the presiding officer of this degree, which would be equivalent to like a worshipful master, I'm pretty sure. The prefect's order star. See, I can't think of what else that would be. It's got to be the sigil of Lucifer, because I've never seen any other symbol that looks that, similar to it. And then there's also, okay, here's the description of it. The letters in the center are in gold, as we saw in the picture at the beginning. The square shield is white. The frame is made of red foil. The star is gold, and the large cross is green, and its frame silver. So I'm guessing the star just kind of like hung on their jacket. Might be able to. Yeah, maybe we'll get to that. I think there's more. There's more descriptive information about exactly how it's worn. But one of the other jewels is also called the Knight in this degree. It's called the Knight's St. Andrew's Cross. The St. Andrew's, the cross whereupon the enameled St. Andrew is affixed is green, and the rays are in gold. In number 2, on the other side, the square shield is blue, and the Hebrew letters as well as the rays are in gold. And then there again, looks like it's the Tetragrammaton once again. So if you want to pause that and look at that picture real quick. Not sure if it's going to let you actually see it very well or not. I can also show you, yeah, here we go. The Master's Craft brings you this beautiful recreation of the Bavarian Illuminati Scottish Knight St. Andrew's Cross with the recent publication of the Secret School of Wisdom. It says the same thing as it did in the description of the other one. But here's a picture right here. Maybe I can turn the brightness down a little bit so you can see it better. And then here's some other, there's the other part it was talking about. So a lot of what this is about, it's just the way that like the governance is set up within the Illuminati system. Interesting or consistent pattern of people overseeing those of the lower degrees. I can read just a little bit here. The Scottish knights should bear carefully in mind that they are the overseers of a great institution established for the benefit of mankind. Therefore, they must shed any vain thoughts of playing a special role in the order. Everyone must work in his respective station as much and as well as he can, must only think about being worthy of the place where he can be useful, must reject any petty and miserable vanity, must not desire to present himself as a superior, must certainly not recruit anyone, and must not concern himself with anything outside his department, but instead forward anything concerning it to the prefect for further handling. And the prefect is the one who wears that jewel. So he's kind of like the overseer. In the order, this prefect is known by the name of local superior. And anytime they use the word order, I think is interesting in this book is they have a dot within a circle, which we know is the astrological symbol for the sun. So instead of actually typing out the word order, they just use that symbol, the circle with the dot in the center. Yeah, so this is all mostly just, organization of, who's in charge of what. Nothing super esoteric or interesting here. And that was something that I always, thought was, with a lot of these orders, there's so much emphasis put on like structure and like who's responsible for what and who has what responsibilities, that it seems to take away from, the essence of what the mysteries are all about. But it also does play an important role. As I've grown older, I've realized that these things are pretty important, because it adds foundation and it adds more structure to the order. And without structure and all of these things fall apart really, really fast. Like, you have to have everything down to a T. It has to be structured very well. And that's what's kind of cool about, any of these groups, no matter what order it is or whatever tradition or mystery school you're into, these orders that exist on Earth, even if one member, dies or whatever, it's the order will carry the information on. So it gets immortalized, it gets preserved, it's not going to be lost, because the better structuralized an order is, the more lasting effect it's going to have on, having its influence upon society. The better ordered and structured, and the better it can hold on to. It's like, think of it as like an archive of information. It's an arcana of a trove of wisdom, and we don't ever really want to like get rid of knowledge. We want to be able to, be able to observe it, learn about it, learn from it, and then we can decide. We can use our reasoning skills to decide, is that actually going to help us grow, or is this knowledge just kind of a little bit superfluous? But for the most part, these egregores, or these groups that carry the knowledge on, it's very important that they have stayed structured so that it exists for future generations down the road. It's like even each of us, it doesn't matter, like death or whatever happens, the transition from the physical to, most of us are probably going to reincarnate. I don't claim to know exactly how it all works, but the more we can produce as far as knowledge in a format that's able to be preserved, if we are able to do that, the more we can do that, the more the knowledge becomes immortalized, and that way people can draw from it later on and they can learn from it. More organization, let's discuss on page 209. I wrote that. It's about like where really people can serve best. And these orders, especially like the Illuminati, they have really high standards of like who they would choose to fill roles, and they would only choose people, especially for this secret society, that they knew who would dedicate like their existence to a higher purpose. They didn't really want like selfish individuals, as in people who just are curious and like they want to get in and get what they can out of it knowledge wise. They would even end up like some of the people who inquired into the further degrees, they're like, well, I want to know what's in the further degrees. Sometimes they would even give them copies of the higher degrees and say, look, there's not really anything super interesting here. Like, it's more about like how you can, like, where you best fit in and like where you best serve. And like, if you really want to keep this enterprise going, then, you know, just know where your role is and know how you can better it. And that's something that we all learn, like if you're a part of any order or anything, it's more about like where can you help. It's not so much about what you can get out of it, but it's like anything else in life. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. It always tends to work that way. A lot of the times the superiors in the order too, a lot of the lower degree people, they wouldn't even know who those people were. They would never know their names. Wow, my voice cracked. It still happens every once in a while, even though I'm about to be 32 years old. It's crazy. Superiors, they say to always give, never to take. It's about what you can give. So what's interesting is a lot of these older fraternities and stuff, they're actually more along the positive polarity. It's more about the positive polarity. It's more about what you can do for others. It's almost like this Christ consciousness type thing. And, you know, it's all about balance. Personally, I think I tend to lean a little bit more towards the negative polarity, because while I do like to share information, I do like to share gnosis, I do believe that it's up to each and every individual. We just hit 33 minutes. That was cool. It's up to each and every individual to, you know, do the work themselves. So if we help people too much, if we just like help everyone out, it takes away their ability to be able to basically rise through adversity, or to have that. Sometimes they need that conflict, and they need to go through that pain and suffering to come out the other side a better and stronger version of themselves. And if you just give everything to people, and you see that a lot in the world today, a lot of people are just handed, you know, stuff, and they don't like go out and work for it, and that causes a lot of issues. So if you're too positively polarized, and I've actually, ironically, of all places, I'm playing Knights of the Old Republic 2 right now in some of my spare time, which has a lot of esoteric knowledge in it. The story's really good, and there's a character named Kreia. There's actually some really interesting AI videos you should check out about Kreia. She talks about the light and the dark side and kind of the in-between, and very wise. Like, you know, Star Wars has some incredible lore, but in my game, I've been like helping some people out when I can, and she's like, you know what, it's not always best to help them out. You know, you should let them struggle, because it will actually help their growth in the end. And if you just heal them automatically, or if you fix their problems, it's not really going to fix the real issue. And you see that with especially people who I'm learning, people who initiate through like the dark tree, the Klopothic tree. We have to be wise enough to know that if we're not ready for that journey, because that is a really tough journey. Like for me in my life, I'm not at a place where I would do that, but I do still learn about it. I still study it, and I watch other people who have gone through that initiation system, who have worked through the whole Kolpathic tree. I watch their material so I can learn from them. But it seems to be those who go through the most pain and suffering are the ones who are able to be the greatest of light bearers. And so while I have not gone through that system consciously at all, I've definitely had some Kolpathic moments in my life where those spheres or those influences came in and they taught me stuff. I've had a lot of like ego death. I've had a lot of crazy experiences, especially in the past decade, I would say, that have really, it's almost like I don't even have like a normal human awareness. It's that was almost thrown out the window, and I feel more like I'm a spirit just embodying this human vessel. So it's not so much about what I can gain as a human being, like me. It's more about what lasting impression can I leave upon this world, with the time that I still have. I really seek to make a change, not in a way that's overly Christ-like and I'm just like sacrificing myself to everyone, but in a way I have given a lot to help people evolve. So I've been able to give them information, I've been able to help and teach people, but also at the same time there is a lot of the time where I've had to set my ego aside, or it's been completely destroyed or obliterated. I've had to completely let go of who I thought I was, who I am, so that I could step into that new version of myself and become stronger. Because remember, pain is actually it's a catalyst for growth. So sometimes we need to suffer and endure pain to make us stronger. If we think that the world is like, crashing down around us, we can stand there and we can be this firm, strong, foundational force that just, withstands everything. And then through that, we evolve and we become stronger through the trials. I've talked about that a lot before on my channel, and I'm learning from other people, a lot more about that. Because I feel like my spirituality consisted of a lot of escapism there for a while. It's like, ooh, I don't like that, so I'm just going to banish it and get rid of that negative energy. Not so much more about that now. More about just taking on energies and just learning to integrate it instead of trying to escape it. Because what ends up happening is if you try to practice this escapism, is it comes around and it bites you in the ass a lot worse than it would have if you had just accepted it and then moved on and growed naturally. So we need this solid, firm foundation before we even do like invocations and a lot of spiritual exercises. Make sure you're able to, just sit there and do the fourfold breath and have an empty mind and relax your body, calm your nervous system before you get into these practices. A lot of people don't ever have the time to stop and sit and focus, and it's always go. And if you try to get into these deep spiritual practices when you're in that chaotic, stressful state of mind, it's only going to bring about more chaos. So always about foundation. Balancing of character, gathering money for noble ends. So at this time in history, and of course as always, if we can use money for means such as actually enlightening humanity and not just throwing that all away for just in ways that are really not serving our higher purpose, and they're really just feeding the lower or the false ego, really just feeding the body always and never focusing on the higher truths. If we can use money for noble ends, to actually help with the evolution of humanity, we should do that. Page 212, interesting notes on the character evaluation I wrote. Wonder which part it was. Before a Scottish novice is knighted, the secret Scottish chapter shall ensure that he delivers the biography of the man whose name he bears as instructed during his initiation. As soon as someone is proposed for the Scottish Knight degree, all files concerning his person, such as his character, description, biography, etc., shall be submitted to the Provincial Lodge. I think that's what that abbreviation stands for, PROV, along with notes, newly added comments, and a brief sketch of the man's overall qualities. Basically just figuring out what he is, what is the... Basically, it's the whole weighing of the heart, in the Egyptian afterlife, figuring out what he's really about, essentially. And then it starts to talk about how in Bavaria at this time period, they would, members of this Illuminati would infiltrate nearby Masonic lodges, and that they would, the secret chapter here, I'll just read some. The secret chapter shall ensure that lodges for the first 3 Masonic degrees are established in all larger cities in its assigned district, and that good, morally educated, respected, and wealthy persons are accepted there, even if they are not otherwise suited for higher purposes. Very interesting. The Constitution must be issued by the secret chapter in the local language according to the form, Addendum A, and the legal name of the first worshipful master who is to occupy this office. If lodges of the other so-called Freemasonic systems, because they believe that the lodges around that area were corrupt for the most part. If lodges of the other so-called Freemasonic systems are already established there, one shall either establish an authentic one alongside these, or if the small size of the location or other circumstances do not permit this, shall secretly acquire a voting majority in those lodges and attempt either to reform or dismantle them. So there's like this infiltration that took place in Bavaria of these Illuminati people coming into the Masonic lodges of the surrounding area. We're talking about how these orders are structured egregores that really can't be destroyed, and that the mission goes onward. Also mentions of how all Minervals are to become Freemasons. So yeah, those who have reached the Minerval degree in the Illuminati, the Bavarian Illuminati, they are to eventually all become Freemasons. They want them to become Freemasons. Page 214. So I was talking about earlier how some of the superiors of the order will actually hand out the rituals of the higher degrees, and then they would ask for them back, essentially. And they're like, look, it's not about how fast you can advance through these degrees, it's like really how much you can integrate the knowledge and really put it into practical use. And I kind of had the same thing when I first joined Freemasonry. I just wanted to join all these different groups, so I joined like Scottish Rite very shortly after becoming a Master Mason, and then I also joined Eastern Star, and I just jumped into too many things at once, so I kind of made that same mistake myself. I was just very curious. I wanted to learn more, and I've read so many rituals of different degrees at this point, mostly through the internet. All the degrees of most of the orders are already out there on the internet. It's all, so there's not really anything that's like secret per se anymore if you know where to look. But really the different colors of the banners, the jewels that they wear, the movements in the lodge, that's not really what's important at the end of the day. Yes, while it is all very interesting to observe and see how everything's energetically lined up, and like maybe how magically things are being manifested through that way. It's not really the end game. It's not really the end goal. It's really just you coming into closer alignment and learning more about you. Realize that you are the source yourself, and you have the ability to do great things and to pursue higher passions. And you see the world kind of falling into this like lower, degrading, you know, clusterfuck, for lack of a better term. And you know, this is learning about these higher things, these, you know, whatever your spiritual path is. We're all learning, we're all growing, and we can learn these things and take it into account to help us basically become better people and better conduits of source, to bring about better change on the world, to bring about, you know, further evolution. So yeah, I recommend, if you want to know like specifics about this, because I'm just kind of going around and skipping different sections and like commenting on it, you can go ahead and, you know, get you a copy of this book. Not sure if there'd be a free PDF online or not, but The Secret School of Wisdom. And this would be the degree that the jewel is based on, that the Bavarian Illuminati Scottish Knight is where we saw the Sigil of Lucifer, is the degree of Illuminatus Dirigens, which is on page, starts on page 208. 208. Okay, here we go. So this is how the prefect, the one who wears that jewel, is actually dressed. This is of the solemn chapters for initiation. It's section 5 in this degree. The secret chapter is held in a room which is wallpapered green and, as far as circumstances permit, pleasantly decorated. The prefect, wearing boots and spurs, sits 2 steps high under a canopy of the same color. He wears the Scottish Knight's apron with the green cross, the star of the order, on the left breast. Yep. Above the right shoulder, a broad ribbon from which hangs the St. Andrew's star, and he wields a gavel in his right hand. It's very interesting. And I don't really know too much about St. Andrew. So if that's somebody that a figure that you know a little bit about, I could actually Google it real quick. Andrew the Apostle, so he was one of the apostles, is the patron saint of Luca. The patron saint's traditional feast is celebrated on the first Sunday of July. He was an apostle of Jesus. He is the brother of Simon Peter and is a son of Jonah. Interesting. And you can, research more on that if you want to. Just Google St. Andrew. So yeah, you have like all the different, the blazing star sits above the prefect's head, which is more, like pentagram star symbolism, which really fits. The morning star is associated with the pentagram as well, Venus. So it all kind of fits. It's all making sense. It's very chivalric. It's very knight-like. So whenever people address somebody else, they draw their sword, which is very interesting. The ritual altogether is, very reminiscent and similar to like a normal Masonic degree. You have these things in this degree too, which are called there's a lecture that's given too. Of course, it goes into the knight's oath, the oath that's taken, the ritual itself. And then you have like a lecture that's given, which kind of talks about how the morals of the society go hand in hand with the state of the society at the time and what they seek to, you know, the changes that they seek to effect through the order. It's all about like fighting the evil, you know, fighting there was very much this idea of like good and evil back then. It was much more dualistic thinking. And in today's world, we're definitely starting to learn that not everything is so black and white. It's not so simple as that. And that the negative polarity has it's very important, just as important as the positive polarity. Each are equally important. There's always a balance that has to be going on between the two. And I was reading Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma, and there was a lot in that book that's really good about, it helped me on a personal level to reconcile a lot of things that I thought, yeah, man, I'm like, why does that exist? Why does that shitty person, like, gosh, I'm a pretty easygoing person, but there are certain things that just bother me quite a bit, but there is a reason for it yet. And it's, it all comes back to the pillars. If we look at Jachin and Boaz, or Jachin and Boaz, however you want to look at them, the pillar of mercy, the pillar of severity, it takes both. It takes both for the keystone or the arch or the higher centerpiece to come into manifestation. So remember that, sometimes even our existence, I've also even, thought about it a lot myself, how these dueling or dualistic or opposing forces bring about this reconciliation or this balance that allows for the beauty to be manifested. So it took the forces from both sides to bring about or birth really the beauty that comes from both things. And we see this in all different levels on society. If you're really observing close enough, the friction, the energy that comes from the friction of these two sides, it leads to a beautiful reconciliation and new creation. We see this in human life. We see this in, one side fighting the other. I talked about that a lot in my Thamael video, especially the part 2 Thamael, about how you have different parts of the world, they're fighting against each other. But it's really just like a mathematical equation. At the end, it's all going to like balance itself out. And then it gives birth to something that's beautiful. It gives birth to something that could not have come to being without basically the bullshit of the conflicts. It's a very mature thing to be able to look and view and see, I may not like that, I may not, but I understand its place in the universe. Wherever there is a light cast, there is a shadow that's there as well. So it's really important to understand that. There's these things called the agape feasts, I think, or the love feasts, very similar to the Last Supper. So those who think that like the Illuminati or Freemasonry or whatever, they don't really talk about, like, there's never talk about Lucifer. Lucifer in his name is like one of those things that's kind of concealed in the occult world as far as those things go. But they talk about Jesus a lot, and they talk about how Jesus and Hiram Abiff are very closely related, but Lucifer is kind of this hidden or occulted principle to Jesus. It's a more ancient primordial energy and consciousness and entity that, it's kind of like it's the more primal aspect, and then Jesus is kind of remember there was the primal darkness first, and then Jesus is more of this more modern idea. It's a more modern egregore or archetype, and less ancient. So it came forth, and it was needed. The world needed that savior. It needed that almost like a kind of like a cop-out, though, like to have the Savior come in and just take care of everything for you. You know, like the Savior's just going to take away all my mistakes, all my sins. Like it is kind of like a bailout or a cop-out. And we're getting to the point in the world now where we realize that it's more about we have to be the ones to make the change. We have to be the ones to do it, you know, ourselves. Like it really is up to us. There are lots of different beings. Even Source itself is setting this up so that we can work through, you know, so that we can work through what we need to work through and be in the right place at the right time so we get the right lessons. So however you want to look at it, like the star seeds, all these different races. I had a question about star seeds recently, and just all of these things, gods, goddesses, they really want us to figure it out. Like they'll help, but they're not here to save the day. They're not here to take the responsibility away from us. So yeah, like Jesus is mentioned a lot in these degrees. Like even here at the very end of the chapter, here it is. Who is your master? That's the question. The answer, Jesus of Nazareth. Question, what has he done for the good cause? Answer, he has suffered for mankind. Where do you celebrate his memory? At the love feast. What are the wages of your labor? Rest, love, bliss. So, who can decipher the meaning of the blazing star? He who feels the bond between the finite and the infinite in his innermost being. How do you call this bond? The true light. When will you recognize this light? Once I have recognized the triple cause, myself, nature, and the great architect. So as within, so without, it's this trinity of self that was just talked about right there. And this is the last degree before you get to the third class of degrees, which is called the mysteries class within the Illuminati. So, yeah, overall, Lucifer and Jesus in general are very misunderstood subjects. And Lucifer is like this guy who's kind of had to play this adversarial role. He is an adversary, in as he's going to push you. That energy is going to push you to toughen you up and to make you the best version of yourself. Jesus is more just love, light, and forgiveness of all sins, and they are kind of one and the same being, though. Lucifer representing more of the intellectual mind, Jesus representing a little bit more of the heart center. But when you take the two archetypes into one and combine them, you have like the Luciferian consciousness, along with the care, the eighth hermetic principle. It's the hidden eighth hermetic principle. Without that care, your magic's never going to work. Nothing in life for you is ever really going to work if you don't have that true care, that true fire, that true flame, that blazing star within yourself, that Venusian energy, the Venus, love thy neighbor as thyself. Don't look down upon everyone. Look at the potential within people. How can that potential be ignited, and how can it be, how can things be transmuted so that they walk into their own highest potential? So I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to in this video. I could have gone a little bit more into detail. I planned to go more into detail about the actual degree itself, but I think I pretty much summed up without going into like details about the just the ceremony itself and just the ritualistic movements and things of that nature. This video is pretty much an hour long already, so I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. One more thing I did want to mention too is I did create a video for my Patreon. It was going to be the first Patreon video, and it's about the true nature of Christ. That was another long video too. It ended up being 2 parts, and I think altogether it was like an hour and 20 or an hour and 30 minutes. I tried to post that, but my phone is old, and I'm guessing that that's what's wrong, because every time I go to post the video to Patreon, it does not want to load. It says it's clipping the video, whatever that means. I guess it's like condensing it down to a certain file or whatever, but then when it goes to upload, it stays blank. So it's not really working. So I'm not sure. Hopefully I can get that fixed as soon as possible. I need a new phone really bad. This phone I probably had this phone for 4 years now at least. So the battery dies pretty quick. It's at service. It's at that point where it needs serviced. But it's going to be easier to just get a new phone altogether. So it's definitely some technological issues going on right now. Would love to get the Patreon started though. And I only have one tier on there. It's just $5 to become a member, $5 a month. So, and I want to put some really exclusive content on there, some stuff that's really going to give you some deeper insight. Would really, ultimately would love to put up some, rituals, some actual invocations and a lesser ritual of the pentagram, and teach you some of that stuff. But until I can get it fixed, that's going to be on hold. But I did want to go ahead and get this video done today. I've been wanting to do this subject for a long time, this sigil of Lucifer within the Bavarian Illuminati, which is very interesting because it ties all back into Freemasonry. And there's a lot going on with this Luciferian energy, this Luciferian current. As I'm evolving and changing myself, I feel like there was a point where I reached kind of that Kether energy, and it's like it's like they always needed me. I really experienced this like 3 years ago, back before 2020, and I really kind of put a hold on like always just, being there and stopping what I was doing and just trying to help everyone. And like, even as a musician, like everyone wanted my talents. Like they're like, can you be a part of my band? Can we jam? Can we play together? And it's like, there's a certain point where you just get stretched too thin, way too much, and you have to tell people no. And, I'm really, I've learned to not put up with shit anymore. I stand up for myself and taking on more of this Luciferian energy consciousness, rather than just always being the sacrificial Christ that's like willing to sacrifice himself. It's like now I'm at a point in my life where I have to stand strong, because there's just things that I really need to be strong and foundational for in my life, supporting my family and being there for the people that I think deserve it the most, those who are working on their own evolution as well, not just helping everyone and anyone, because I do have a lot of value to offer as a human being, but I'm gonna need something in return. I'm not just going to do everything like sacrificially anymore. So this Luciferian current, it very much resonates with me. It's a very mature spirit, and it's been trying to kind of get my attention for a while. So I'm learning more about Lucifer, and it is kind of this, Lucifer is like a gatekeeper. It's actually helped mankind evolve, and it's actually ordained from the supernal triad. So Kether, Hokmah, and Bina, Lucifer carries out the will of that trinity of, quote, God of the tree of life. But the problem with the front side of the tree of life is that it could just be ran by a demiurge or a Yaldabaoth type being, and I highly recommend you look those up. Demiurge and Yaldabaoth, a false deity that's not the true God, but that thinks it's God. And source goes beyond the whole tree. It goes back to Ein, the A-I-N, the no thing, which isn't really no thing. There's no void. There's activity everywhere. Activity everywhere. Albert Pike actually has a really good passage on that. It's pretty beautiful. I might read some passages from that. I was covering a whole playlist of that book, but it would take me a while to get to those parts, so I might just go in and select them or find them and then read them off. But so yeah, it's this energy that kind of actually makes us like, it's so ironic because the Luciferian energy is kind of like it does make a sacrifice, but it's a more intellectual and more more Gnostic way of sacrificing oneself so that true knowledge can be gained. You know, the serpent awakened humanity so that humanity could know. Humanity's not just this ignorant creature, like, you know, that doesn't know any better. It's not like a stupid naked animal anymore. It's like we become as the gods. Humanity was then fertilized by the seed of the angels, and instead of being merely a creation, mankind became creator. Talks about that in Thomas Carlson's Kabbalah, Klapoth, and Goetic Magic. So anyway, everybody, I think I pretty much made my point in this video. I hope you all enjoy the content that's in this. If you enjoyed this video, please comment. Leave a comment and let me know what you thought. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, please go ahead and subscribe and give the video a like. So I hope to see you all very soon, and until next time, peace and blessings. And that's Mr. Christopher in the background there. Say bye. Was there anything you wanted to say? It's already been going for an hour and 6 minutes, though.
Not really.
Not really? Me and Christopher both have the sniffles today. Nothing? Alrighty. Until next time, everyone. Peace, love, and blessings.